So congratulations on releasing Any Shape You Take. I love it so much. It's so awesome. It's actually in our rotation at WSC, which means we get to like play it like as almost like a requirement that it's one of the albums we go through, which is so cool. I love it when it's someone that I like know their music personally.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I wanted to know about for this album, I would love to know like what song took you the longest to create and what song was kind of like the shortest, like most fluid process.
Oh, I think maybe what took the longest was Hold You.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was just a lot of like tonalities in the instruments that I felt really specifically about, and for a while it didn't feel right, and we had to keep trying different sounds until everything felt perfect. I remember that being like one of the last ones that we finished, and probably the fastest one was Pretty Pictures, which was also a last minute addition to the album because
Really?
one of the songs that we had recorded felt like it didn't really serve the album well. So we took it out and we replaced it with a new song. It was like the newest song I'd written, which was Pretty Pictures. And all the other songs are really old. And I think because it was so new, and all my ideas for it were really fresh, it was like a really quick process.
Cool. I love that song. It's probably my favorite song off the album, Pretty Pictures.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So there are multiple songs on the album that like reference death in some way, such as like Darker Than Death, Die, Cry, Kill Me. And this is a really interesting exploration of mortality, which I've read you talk about like in different interviews, but they also are like all in reference to like a person. So I was wondering if you could like talk about kind of the experience or like kind of what it was like to like write about a person kind of in reference to like the concept of death, because I find that like very interesting, like how it's like kind of like multiple times.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a cool insight. I actually feel like no one has ever asked me that. So that's really cool on your part. Um, yeah, I just had, I think, yeah, there was just like, I don't know if it's like this for everyone, but there was one relationship that kind of taught me the most
Hmm.
about relationships in general. And it was the longest one and the heaviest one, and just kind of the first big one that really impacted my life.
Hmm.
And that person and we just had a lot of perspective in common when it comes to existential stuff. And so I find myself referencing him a lot, or referring or speaking to him a lot in my songwriting, or I used to, because of that kind of shared perspective that we had. And that was just a very special part of my life back then. So I think that I always was speaking to him, but I find now in my writing that I'm not speaking to him anymore. But,
So
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with the album there's definitely like a tone shift in the songs, like how starkly different some are, which is really interesting. I was wondering, how would you describe the way that you go about making music?
Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
Dexter, can you come up in like 15 minutes? I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. Okay, bye. You could, yeah. Sorry, I get so
You're good.
excited when people come in. We're on tour right now. I
Yeah.
sent a text, but I think they didn't see it. Um, okay, sorry. What was the question again?
No, you're good. I was just wondering if you could describe the way you make music.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's very different every time.
Hmm.
Sometimes it will be a melody that arrives in my brain, um, just as I'm going about my life, and then I'll kind of slowly uh, put lyrics to it, either in one day or over time. It really just depends. And I find that that's usually how it happens, is melody first, because there is a lot of emotion in melody for me. So once there's a melody, the words come pretty easily. But sometimes I'll also just write down lyrics in my phone and then later take out the lyrics, and I'll just start playing guitar and singing the lyrics in different ways. Yeah. And then I usually also make demos of songs like pretty quickly, even if I'm not finished with them. I'll kind of flesh out all the different instrumentation for the song, just to see what it could sound like. And that helps me finish writing the whole song.
Cool. Do you think it's changed at all from like as you've progressed as an artist, like from making your first album to this one? Or do you think it's kind of been kind of the same thing where it's a little bit different every single time you make a song?
I think it's ever changing, especially just with the way that my career has changed so much. There's such a different energy in writing songs now than there was in the beginning. There's kind of a different energy to it. I think I don't have as much time to write songs.
Yeah.
So it feels different when I am writing, because it feels like a more just a more special moment, a more rare moment than it used to be.
Yeah. So I know you have a close relationship with your mom, and like she's created both like the art pieces or the art covers for your albums. And I was wondering, do you think that your relationship with your mom has had a huge effect on the way you make music, or has her artistry affected the way you go about seeing art or making art?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, in a lot of ways, just because she's a really prolific and disciplined artist. And my whole life growing up, that just was always reflected on me, and I was constantly making things also. And she was constantly teaching me how to make things, and just kind of setting an example of like self-expression and vibrancy. But yeah, I don't know. I reference her a lot in the songs though, because she is kind of a symbol of mortality for me. But yeah, I don't know. And also she's just really has like pushed me to play music my whole life in a really helpful way that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, and just got me to practice performing in front of people a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of ways that she's inspired the place that I am now.
That's awesome. So I have a question about, so you grew up in the South and now you live in Asheville, North Carolina, right? That's where you live now. And I was just wondering if you could talk about maybe your experiences like growing up in the South, and how that's, if you think that that has shaped the way you make music in any way, or do you think that you'd be kind of in the same place if you were like same place making music if you lived somewhere else? Because I just know from my experiences, living in the South is very much, it's a different feeling than because I grew up in South Carolina, Columbia, so I just it's it's a different, I feel like it's definitely shaped definitely who I am living in somewhere like the Bible Belt. So I was wondering if that has shaped you in any way in the way you make music.
Yeah. For sure. I think that basically I don't know, it's hard to say like what it has done for me. It's hard to analyze myself.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, before I moved to Asheville, it just feels like my idea of music was really limited because of where I lived. And I was surrounded by a lot of the same kinds of music, and heavily influenced by bluegrass and country and folk music. And I didn't really know that there were a lot of underground artists, or that there was even grungy, like loud music that existed in the world. So I think that once I was aware of the full scope of what was out there, my world just kind of opened up much more. So I think the South was kind of limiting, I think, but
Yeah.
also it taught me some really cool like fundamentals of songwriting. Like, yeah, when I was young, I would my mom would kind of like set me on porches. There were all these like pick-in porches where
Yeah.
men would be playing bluegrass in a circle, and she would put me there to like play guitar with them. And I think that helped a lot. Yeah, it's really cute, but
It's
I
really
don't know.
cool.
I'm glad I got out though, because I think that I don't know what would have happened if I didn't get out, but none of this would have happened.
I understand that, both the factors. You can admire it from like afar in like a sentimental way, but it's kind of oppressive in lots of
Yeah,
ways.
exactly.
Let me see. So that goes into something else where I wanted to talk about. So I know that you've said that the kind of friendships is one of the things that has like is one of the primary relationships that like you're now kind of focusing on and like your songwriting and like what kind of topics you go about. And I was wondering if you could kind of talk about what it's like with like kind of queer friendships and how that's kind of different and how like special that can be, and like what kind of relationship that is and how it kind of informs how like how close knit it can be. I'm forming this question in a really funny way, but I'd just love to hear about your experiences with that and the kind of relationships that those they take on in your life.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand the question.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can try to ask it again.
It's okay. I mean, I can just say that generally I just have a really powerful connection to my friends, and I create a very open, safe space for all the people in my life.
Mhm.
And I have really clear boundaries in my life now. I really only accept people in my life spending time with me who are kind and who create safe space for me. And yeah, friendships are just really important and really beautiful. And I think that the power of them can get kind of lost in the world sometimes
Yeah.
because people accept a lot of pain into their lives, or accept people who don't treat them well or don't allow them to fully be themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that now I'm just really blessed with kind of a clarity that has allowed me to create really healthy and long-lasting, really connective and ever morphing friendships.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. Yeah. So I was wondering, so now you're on tour. So I was wondering if you have any, like some of your favorite experiences of performing live or like one favorite experience.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's all been so wild. It's crazy. This is the longest tour I've ever been on.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably one of the most wild things was playing my first headlining show in LA this time. It's just been like 2.5, it's been 2 years or so since I've been on tour, and I've never played a headline show in LA. And the headline show that we played it was sold out. There's so many people there. And I think that was just really wild for me to see hundreds of people that showed up to a space to hear me.
Yeah.
And I had never played my own show there before. And just really just getting to share that moment with my bandmates was really special, because they are kind of new. They're new bandmates to me. We kind of like formed this new formation during COVID. And this tour is our first big thing that we've done together. So it was really special to kind of feel the impact of the new album there in LA with them, and to share that with them. And it just felt like a really promising movement forward altogether.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was wondering if you had any like artistic inspirations, like any things you go to like get inspired, or just maybe not to get inspired to like write music, but just inspired in general, like in your life.
Um, I don't really
Mhm.
go to anything to
Yeah,
get inspired. It kind of just happens naturally.
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, other than just like I am very connected to the people in my life and just like pour a lot of energy into them. And that is normally the most inspiring thing, is just to kind of the connections that I have with people.
Um, so like I know in our generation, or like just nowadays in general, having a very like strong online presence is almost unavoidable. And I think especially as an artist, it's probably something that kind of feels like a pressure that you have to promote yourself, and you have to like be there for like fans, like when you grow um like a fan base. And I was wondering, um, do you feel that kind of pressure, or does social media almost feel like something that you can use to get away from things? Because I know some people have different relationships with it, where it can be something that that is a pressure, or something that could be like a fun activity that you enjoy along with your life. I was wondering your
Uh,
relationship with
I Yeah, I've always loved social media. Like I've always thought that it's toxic, but
that.
I've also found a way to use it that feels really true to me and
Mhm.
really powerful. And it also allows a lot of control. And I'm able to speak to my audience directly and say exactly what I want to say. Um, and I've been really grateful for the way that I've been allowed to, or uh, been supported to kind of keep my autonomy when it comes to my social media presence.
Yeah,
Everyone I work with has been really sweet about allowing me to do the things that I want to do
yeah,
in that way. So, yeah, I've always loved it because it feels like just a direct line to people who are listening.
that's awesome. Um, so what do you think is up next for you in your career? Do you have any goals, or are you just basically after the tour, you're just gonna like live your life for a little while? I was wondering.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a little break, and then basically we're just gonna be touring a lot more. There's a lot
Okay.
of stuff in the future. There's a lot of shows, and
Mhm.
going to Europe, and uh, yeah, just a lot of traveling and playing music, and also
Mhm.
recording the next album.
Awesome. Okay, I was just wondering if you had any like music recommendations for the USC students, anything that you've been enjoying, obviously besides any shape you take, but anything you've been listening to lately that you think is worth it?
My kind of top three albums are Iowa Dream by Arthur Russell, um, and uh, Terza just put out a new album, but I haven't gotten super into it yet. But um the one before that, oh yeah, it's called Devotion. Terza's album Devotion, and then also Happiness with a Y. It's Happyness. Their album Weird Little Birthday is one of my favorites.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking to me today. This has been wonderful.